Hey folks, Nick here from AnotherBooktuber channel, and today I'll be showing you the story that finally made me fall in love with Love and Rockets. I have been making my way through the collected volumes of the series. The Girl from Hoppers is the second volume of the Locas storyline by Jaime Hernandez. But it's the third volume overall. The second volume in this set is Heartbreak Soup with by Gilbert Hernandez, the Palomar stories. And so far, the Maggie the Mechanic volume of Locas by Jaime Hernandez didn't impress me all that much. Now, when I say it didn't impress me, I'm not talking about the artwork. The artwork is like savant level genius stuff, incredible right off the bat. Like, it is fantastic art. But Jaime Hernandez's storytelling, I think, I don't know that it's controversial to say, I think it was pretty rough in the beginning, especially because the Love and Rockets was really emphasizing the Rockets portion of the series when it was still early going. But by this point, I think it's about 20 issues in, the Rockets have pretty much been dropped completely, and it's all just about the love. It's just about the people's lives and these characters interacting with each other. And clearing away all that sci-fi nonsense that didn't really work and was dense and clunky in that first volume, it's made all the difference. So now it's just spending time with the characters and getting to know them and feeling things when, things go wrong, or, whatever they're going through, actually being connected to them. That's something that was lacking in that first Maggie the Mechanic volume for me. But now I am 100% like hook, line, and sinker, totally in with these characters. And this is the story that really made it happen for me. It's Vida Loca, the Death of Speedy Ortiz. I'll jump right into it. Maggie is like I would say, I guess, the main character of the Locas group from Jaime. Speedy Ortiz is a character that she has kind of been like on again, off again. Like, she's had a crush on him, he's got a crush on her. They like each other, but they've never really gotten together in any substantial way. And he has started actually dating Maggie's younger sister, Esther. And that's where things pick up with him asking Maggie how things are going with the sister. She doesn't really know. They don't communicate all that much. She lives many miles away in Dairy Town, which I forget the name of the actual town, but it's called Dairy Town. She and this group, they're from Huerta, or as it's colloquially known as Hoppers. So that's where the title "The Girl from Hoppers" comes from. And those two towns are in a perpetual turf war. So the sister's up in Dairy Town. She doesn't know how she's doing. She says, "Speedy, you talk to her more than I do." And right off the bat, we'll address some of the things that Jaime Hernandez is great at. Silhouettes, contrasting black and white. I don't know that I've ever seen a better artist, a better cartoonist at just working in black and white than Jaime, as well as just the blending of kind of realistic anatomy with cartoon anatomy. We'll see examples of it as it goes on, but like facial features and facial emotions that have cartoonish qualities, like sweat beads and like the squiggles to indicate somebody's like perturbed, but having realistic body proportions. As you could see the contrast between Maggie and her sister in this side by side. Maggie kind of begins the series slim or slimmer, and she's put on some weight in this volume. That's something that's really great about Love and Rockets, is that over time the characters do actually evolve, and you'll see changes in their appearance. So Maggie's put on some weight in this volume, and it's noticeable. You can see like just the bulge of like the thigh behind, like underneath her butt there, like the way it kind of pokes, protrudes out a little bit. That's a realistic leg of a chunkier person compared to like the slimmer body of Esther. Again, still pretty realistic. Speedy thinks that Esther is, you know, not serious about them. Maybe she's seeing somebody else, and so he decides to, you know, get back at her. But he sleeps with someone else, Blanca. He considers himself a womanizer. He'll sleep with pretty much anybody, and he thinks that he's doing them a favor. What's happening here is Esther has just told Maggie that she's moving in on weekends. So every weekend she's going to come down from Dairytown, spend the weekend in Hoppers with her, and spend that time with Speedy. So they're actually going to give their relationship a little bit of a go. Meanwhile, this character here, Ray, he's recently come back to Hoppers, and he's interested in Maggie, but can tell that she's kind of hung up on Speedy. He got out of the town. He went to art school, but now he's back there, and he's fed up with the nonsense about like the turf war. So some of these Dairytown folks come through, and they get bad glances from from Litos and his group. They immediately like stop what they're doing to, you know, scowl at them and see them off. And he freaks out again. That cartoony body language, extreme contortion, the lines coming out of the head. Speedy leaves Blanca after their little affair at the back of this restaurant. She is in love with Speedy, and she thinks like, oh, he's finally come to his senses, and we're going to be together. And that's going to, you know, be immediately compromised by Esther sneaking up on Speedy and telling him, you know, I'm in town, and you know, I'm going to be around from now on, so we can actually be together. This is another thing about Love and Rockets: the occasional, you know, dip into, you know, unreality, where Speedy is leaving his booty call, and these dogs see him walk by, and the dogs comment, "You don't feel much better, do you, Speedy? Yeah, you're really giving us guys a bad name." Like, really funny, and again, just great black and white silhouette. I like the way that the trees are done. It's just kind of like the squiggles, but knowing where to put them to make it feel like more full. Smart, genius stuff. Maggie's reading Neat Stuff, the Pete Bag comic, so she's got good taste in comics. Maggie and Esther are staying with their Tia, what's her name? Vicky? Valerie? What was it? Vicky. And she is upset because Esther has taken her car without permission. Maggie goes out looking for her. Maggie tells the aunt that Esther took the car. She eventually finds, she goes to Isabel. Isabel is Speedy's sister, looking for Speedy. She eventually does find them, and her intention at first is to be friendly, but Esther immediately makes the situation acerbic by calling out Maggie for telling on the fact that she took the car. So they get into an argument. Maggie storms off. And what sisters do, they talk about each other behind each other's backs. And so Esther is talking about how Maggie could probably meet a guy if she would, you know, dress better, lose some weight, whatever. And, you know, Coy like, oh, I'm the worst, huh? Like that little like cheeky thing. Like, yeah, that's like a mean thing to say about your sister, man. The occasional just atmospheric like setting panel, I think, is really important in a Love and Rockets comic, in a Jaime comic. There's just something about the mood that this sets here. The sun just barely peeking over the house. We know, like, okay, it's the next morning, and Ray is gonna get drunk with his friends here, Litos and the gang. Speedy comes through and says that, you know, things are great now. Esther's here to stay. We spent all night together. Things are better with the sisters again, because as you do, you fight, you make up. So now they're on good terms again. And Ray is getting more and more drunk. He can't believe that Maggie is like hung up on Speedy. Maggie ends up walking by, and he kind of embarrasses himself, not realizing who he's even talking to. And what he finally realizes, he tries to smooth the situation over, and he kind of does. You know, she tells him that, like, hey, Speedy's not my boyfriend. And so he gets a little bashful about that. But it ends with this really important moment where Isabel is just walking home. It's a total non sequitur to the rest of the page. And she sees that the graffiti on the wall, the Hoppers tag has been crossed out, and Dairytown has put their tag over it as well. She says, time to put up the bulletproof window screens. So tensions are broiling over, and that is a problem because the name of this story, you know, Vida Loca, it's Vida Loca, the Death of Speedy Ortiz. So we know how this story is going to end. And we have to try to pick up these clues on like how we're going to get there. Part 2 begins with Ray seeing Maggie walking on the street, and he goes to cross the street to meet her, almost gets hit by a car. Litos and Ray and the gang they're all going to Dairy Town because they're bored, honestly. Like, this is a great little like window into bored punk attitudes in California in the 80s. You know, the only thing that they have to do is stir up trouble and get drunk and, you know, repeat the cycle over and over again. So they head out to Dairy Town. Meanwhile, we get a glimpse of we're back at the restaurant, Blanca's restaurant, where she overhears her coworkers talking about how Speedy hooked up with somebody else, and trying to keep it quiet so Blanca doesn't hear, so she doesn't flip a lid. And Speedy and Maggie have a little sit down where he kind of lays his heart bare and explains that like he and Esther have done nothing but fight since she's, you know, moved into town. You know, he loves her and he thinks she loves him, but they can't make it work. And Maggie's the only person he's ever been able to really talk to and sit and just like share his internal thoughts and feelings with. And this is causing a problem for her because she's always liked Speedy, and now it's going to complicate this relationship. Be the fact that her sister's dating him. Again, a great establishing shot. Just like these quiet panels to establish the new setting. Fantastic. Just look at how incredible, impeccable just the black and whites are here. The composition, so good. Trouble in Dairy Town. The gang, Litos and the gang, get the ire of the Dairy Town people. Beer gets thrown, but nothing really happens. You know, they head out before things can really come to a head. Meanwhile, again, a glimpse back at the hotel. Blanca storms out, and the girls are saying like, "Oh God, we shouldn't have said what we did." Well, we didn't tell her the name, so maybe nothing bad's gonna happen. She wouldn't really hurt anybody, would she? Meanwhile, Speedy and Maggie end their conversation, and you get the hearts over Maggie. She's feeling it again. She's feeling that pull back to Speedy. But before she gets too far away, this is a great sequence where Speedy's sitting with black all around him, and then the blackness intrudes further into him, and that's all you need to know. That's all you need to see to know that somebody has entered the scene. You know, there's no detail there, but we know, like, okay, now somebody's in front of him, and introduces himself as Rojo. Rojo is Esther's boyfriend in Dairy Town. That's a problem. These are obviously members of, like, the rival gang. So this is going to be a problem. I really like when Jaime does these with the shirts. Just like, he doesn't use a straight line. He doesn't use like a ruler because the lines are wobbly, but just the dedication to the pattern of just being as straight as he can freehand it, just making squares. It's really just interesting to look at. Obviously, Speedy doesn't take kindly to Rojo being here. Says that, oh, Esther told me she broke up with her boyfriend because he's a jerk, and leads to a punch that Maggie witnesses. And as she steps in to try to keep him from fighting back too much, he returns to form and insults her, tells her, you know, get the hell away from me with your punk shit. And this is their relationship to a T, of like extreme warmth, extreme coolness. She walks by Blanca, who has this thought, you know, it better not be you, bitch, because I'll kill you. So she thinks that Maggie might be the one that Speedy slept with. And again, we're trying to figure out, at this point, we don't know how Speedy Ortiz is going to die. We know that he dies, we don't know how. So we've established uh-oh, Esther's got a boyfriend in the rival gang. That's a problem. Blanca is a woman scorned. That's a problem. Like, what? Giving us options about how's this going to go. Rojo ends up actually in Maggie's house, says he's waiting for Esther. Maggie and her aunt kick them out, and Esther gets in trouble for bringing this basically into the house. The night sequences where he's just, Speedy's just driving, and it's the light, the white of the page is only just what's illuminated by light. Looks great. Speedy heads back to the restaurant to look for Blanca. She's not there, so he starts hitting on this other girl that's there. She pushes him off and says, like, hell no, because if we get caught, Blanca will kill me. Like, she is unhinged, so you stay well the hell way away from me. Another awesome, like, body, different body type Jaime draws, like, all the realistic bodies. Like, this guy with his beer belly. This woman has the like the double chin of someone who, like, isn't fat, but, like, is obviously, like, maybe a little bit older, and just isn't particularly slim. That it's great seeing all of those different body types represented in here. I think that's what kind of made this one of the many things that made this a really revolutionary comic. We're pushing ahead here. Maggie's looking for Speedy. He is, because he's in trouble. Esther's boyfriend coming down is to their town. Blood might be shed. This is going to be an issue for everybody. He's hiding out with his sister Isabel. She's harboring him, but then she kicks him out too, because he's bringing problems to her now, and he's only being a problem for pretty much anybody. Ray has another moment with Maggie where he tries to woo her a little bit. He accidentally kicks her in the foot and hurts her, and then again they almost gets hit by a car. It's the second time. So that's another thing. Like, okay, we've established that cars are a danger here. People are driving very aggressively in hoppers. Maybe that's what's going to kill Speedy. We don't know. There's a lot of different options available here. Maggie finds Esther, and again, another great. There's words in this one, but just like the establishing shot of this, like, public restroom looks so good. Esther is crying. She's upset because she loves Speedy, and, like, she doesn't feel good about what's going on with her boyfriend Rojo and her boyfriend Speedy. And while they're in this bathroom, Blanca and her gang, her girl gang, corner Esther, and they're going to beat the crap out of her because she thinks Esther's who slept with Speedy. She's right. But Maggie isn't just going to sit back and let this happen. So she kicks Esther out of the bathroom, and she basically takes the beating from Blanca and her gang. Great moment. While they're leaving, I can't remember this character's name. I'm sorry. But she sees that Maggie got beaten up. She knows that Blanca did it. So she storms off, and she's going to, take matters into her own hands. We jump back to Izzy really quickly. In her house, she's swatting all these flies in her ceiling. This is setting up a story later in the volume. So Litos and his gang, they're also fighting amongst themselves because they're upset with Speedy for bringing all these problems down on them. Litos is trying to stand up for him. So he storms off. And he's trying to he's not really cooling off or trying very hard, but he's venting to Ray. This is a different treatment than I've seen anywhere else from Jaime, doing like the Wally Wood double lighting with the hatching on one side. Don't see that very often from him. But Litos is fuming, and these guys pull up in a car asking, hey, any of you Speedy? And he just screams like, yeah, I'm Speedy, what of it? And he has this is something Jaime does when characters get angry. He gives them like sharp teeth, sharp cartoony teeth. But this guy's looking for Speedy because he's gonna shoot him. So he says, I got a message from Rojo. Pulls a gun, shoots Litos in the face. Litos is gonna live, but he's gonna lose the eye, and they don't know if it's gonna damage his brain at all. But everybody's in the hospital now. Maggie's sitting there with Ray. He's got blood all over his shirt. The Blanca comes through also on a gurney. I guess she got met up with by that girl before, who was going to stand up for Maggie. And Ray and Maggie are sitting together, but Speedy comes. He needs to talk to Maggie. He asks a nurse to ask her to come outside because he's still trying to lay low. And he's in rough shape. And she's initially very glad to see him, and then he starts in on like, I've screwed over basically everybody that's ever meant anything to me. You're all that I have left. I never wanted Esther. I never wanted Blanca. You're the only one I've wanted, and you knew that I did. So please, Maggie, I just need you to keep me going. You can do this for me. Like, I love you. And she freaks out. Again, there's those sharp teeth, big cartoony reaction. Like, oh, stop it. Because, like, how dare he put this on her? Like, he's not taking responsibility for what he's done that's causing all these problems for everybody else. And she lets him hear it. And she's the person that he could always rely on because he can kind of walk all over her. Like, he knew that he could snap his fingers and she'd come running. And now she's standing up to him. And that's, like, the last straw for him mentally. And she says, like, I don't want this anymore. Like, this is too much. I don't want you anymore. I don't want, these other guys that she's dated. I can't do it. It hurts too much. And this right here, these two panels, this is the moment where I fell in love with Love and Rockets. Because it's at this point we learn about the death of Speedy Ortiz. We get the fallout here, but it's really, we see it happen here. His decision to commit suicide. That's ultimately the cause of the death of Speedy Ortiz. And it's open to interpretation and maybe why he does it. I choose to believe it's because he sees that he's been nothing but trouble for the people around him. And he's seeing that the only way out for myself, the only way out for them to escape from under the cloud of me is to remove myself from the situation. And so he does kill himself, and we get this somewhat like supernatural moment. A couple of these are sprinkled in throughout Love and Rockets as well, where Speedy visits these people one last time, visits Esther, visits Litos, visits Izzy, wakes her up, but she can't see his face. She turns on the light, and he's not there. And the final page of the story is going back in time to a wedding when they were all younger, and Speedy kind of getting his nickname. There, he's running all over the place. We also get a moment where at this wedding, the Hoppers guys see guys from Dairytown, and they say, like, God damn those guys! Like, this has been going on for years. And that's just how it wraps up. Just a moment back when they were younger and things were, maybe a little bit more innocent, maybe not so much considering what else we read about in this series. But yeah, that's it. That's the death of Speedy Ortiz, and I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I think Jaime Hernandez, his storytelling from volume 1 to this volume is night and day. Like, this is so much cleaner. It's not any less complex. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters who have different motivations and different meanings to each other. The relationships between the characters is, there's a lot going on, but it's super clear, and you really feel it. You feel a connection to them. I thought this was an incredible story. This entire volume is great as well. So I'm in. I'm totally in to Love and Rockets now. I get it. So this is great. Let me know if you've read the Death of Speedy Ortiz and your thoughts about it. Let me know your thoughts on Love and Rockets and any other stories that you think stand out amongst the series as some of the best. I'm still making my way through the series, so if it's past this book, I haven't read it yet. So let me know what I should look forward to. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today, but now it's time to get back to reading.